She represents Ward 10 on the Minneapolis City Council and was recently elected City Council President. Please give it up for Lisa Bender.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank
Please
you.
have a seat.
All right.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. This is fun. You're funny.
Well, really?
I mean, the videos are funny.
The videos are funny. Thank you. You don't want to inflate my ego.
Right,
I might
yeah.
start a show. So, thank you so much for coming, taking time out of your busy new presidential schedule. So, I don't think everyone here may understand what the city council president does. From what I understand presidents do is that they eat cheeseburgers in bed and tweet all day. Is that your responsibility on a day-to-day?
I mean, obviously my first act was to get a big red button installed in my office.
Right. How big is it, would you say?
It's giant.
It's giant.
It's huge.
Yeah,
in case we have to go to war with St. Paul.
Yeah. I heard a lot of fighting words earlier. It's probably going to happen.
Yes.
So, but as city council president, what is your responsibility?
Right. I mean, it's super exciting, of course.
I'm sure it is.
The first thing the city council president does is I set up the structure of the whole council. So Minneapolis has kind of a weird structure of government. So all of our city departments report through the city council in these committees. And so every other week we meet as a committee. So the public works department reports to a committee, the health department. And so I decide who gets to be on which committee.
Wow.
And who's the chair of the committees and how that all gets together. And when I say I decide, it's really this big negotiation and everyone comes together and tries to figure out who wants to do what, and there's some fist fights.
I imagine. That sounds like a really nerve-wracking process. That's like picking, like schoolyard style, your teammates on kickball. Is that like?
Yeah, it is a lot like that.
It's a lot like that.
It's exactly like that.
Always tears at the end.
Yes, exactly.
Well, so as city council president, you get to organize the city council. What are you most excited for? What is your most exciting issue that you're ready to tackle this coming year?
I mean, this term we have to do more about housing affordability in the city. It's like the #1 issue that people are talking about. And we did some stuff last term. I mean, we did a lot of things last term on the worker side. So we raised the minimum wage to $15 an hour in Minneapolis. Paid sick time. But now we really need to tackle the fact that our city is growing. We don't have enough housing for people. We have a 2% rental vacancy rate, so we have really low vacancy in our rental housing. My ward is 80% renter, so this is a big deal in Uptown and Whittier, which I represent. But overall, our city is half renter. And so when we don't have enough housing for people and our city is growing, we just have to do something about it. And then on the other side, we have to do more to build more affordable housing, preserve the affordable housing that we do have, and do better to protect renters. And so I think a lot of this term is going to be about housing and renter protections.
That sounds like a lot of fun and
yes,
a lot of discussions of square footage.
I mean, you guys were talking about redlining on your comedy show.
I know.
Hello.
People said, don't do it. It won't work.
But we don't listen to people.
Yeah. Luckily, we don't have constituents. We don't answer to anyone except our mothers, and they don't live in the States. So. Is there an issue that you, aside from affordable housing, that you wish you could just snap your fingers and it would be gone? Aside from the city of St. Paul.
You stole the answer.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish I could just snap my fingers and make our transit system better. And the politics of transit are so stuck. The legislature and the Met Council and the counties are imploding in this big
Wait,
Hennepin
County is
fight.
imploding? Should we be worried?
Dakota,
we're all here right now.
Dakota County, don't worry about it. I think that's where Chaska is.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's like in that ridiculous movie San Andreas, the entire thing will implode around us.
We're good.
We're the stars.
But we need better buses.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you ever worry that at a certain point, we're going to run out of colors for all of the different light rail lines? We already have...
I cannot keep track of them.
Right? Now there's 2. It's true. Well, there's the 3rd.
I still get on the wrong one. I'm just gonna be honest. I'm you do that, and you're like, oh no, I'm trying to go to St. Paul, and you're on Lake Street.
Can I be honest with you? The buses are numbered, and I've gotten on the wrong bus multiple times. I was waiting for, I believe it was the 73, and I got on the 64, and I was like, this is me, la la la, and then I ended up in White Bear Lake, and I was like, oh no, this is not me. So you're part of a new wave of this is your second term.
Second term.
Second term, but your colleagues are a lot of new fresh faces on the city council, and then there are also several incumbents that are coming on, including yourself, for another term. Does everyone get along?
Absolutely, all the time.
All the time.
It's like that double rainbow thing, but like 13 rainbows all tagged together and unicorns.
Yeah, you're going to really blow some people's minds in this audience. I don't know if they can handle that.
Yeah. It's interesting. So, there was, you guys were talking about the stadium earlier. There's only one council member left on the Minneapolis City Council that voted for the public subsidy for the stadium, and he only won his election by 180 votes this time.
Wow.
So we've seen huge turnover in the Minneapolis City Council in the last 2 elections. My class was 7 new council members out of 13 4 years ago, and now we have 5 new council members again this term. There's only 3 council members who've served more than 1 term back now. So 10 council members are either in their first or second term out of 13. So we have a huge turnover, a huge drop in the age, way more diversity, the biggest race diversity we've ever had on the city council.
Wow.
We're now down to 5 women, so we're not doing as well on gender, but it's kind of ebbing and flowing here. But yeah, there's a big change in the Minneapolis City Council, and I think for the better. We have people who are really deep in their community. They have an interesting and new perspective about how to engage voters and engage people as we're going through the term. So voter turnout was up 30% in this last election over the previous one. So thank you for coming out to vote.
Thank you guys. Yeah.
And that's important, but then it's also important that as council members, we keep engaging with people throughout the 4 years. And we talk to people about how are you getting around your neighborhood? What are the big challenges in our city? How can we make people's lives better? What's happening with housing? All this stuff. It really matters that people stay involved. And we have council members that I know are really committed to keeping people engaged and involved and yeah.
Absolutely. And one of the issues that a lot of folks are engaged in recently has been following the murders of Jamar Clark and Philando Castile and Justine Ruchek, has been police accountability. What can the council do to address that issue?
Yeah, it's interesting. So in Minneapolis, even though we mostly have a strong council with all these departments reporting through the council, it's actually the mayor. One of the few things that the mayor of Minneapolis really has a lot of control over is our police department. So the police report directly to the mayor. Mayor Fry ran on this issue, so we're hopeful that he'll really be a leader on helping us move forward with reform. Mayor Hodges actually did a huge amount of things to get our police department moving in the right direction, but it just takes time. The council, we have a new chair of our public safety committee, Councilmember Alondra Cano, and she's being really proactive. She had her first meeting. She had the police chief come in and do a big presentation about what the department is doing to do better. She had every single inspector come present to the council committee. She had a big presentation about the Super Bowl and what we're going to do about sex trafficking. Council members asked questions about how we're going to support protesters during the Super Bowl, what we're going to do if counter-protesters come and there are, alt-right folks coming in. And these are this is a very different tone than the last council. And these are good questions that we should be asking.
So you weren't asking those questions on the last council?
The Public Safety Committee in the last council was not asking those kinds of questions.
Really? What are we going to do if...
I was pretty heavily criticized for standing with the community at the 4th Precinct, for example, after Jamar Clark was shot. My colleagues did not think I should be out with the community, a lot of them in the last council. And so we've seen a shift. And I think, again, we're moving in the direction of supporting community. I mean, when I was talking to voters in the 10th Ward, and I know across the city, everyone wants to see our police department doing better. And so, I think the council is better reflecting that. There is a significant shift in tone at City Hall this term. Yeah. So, thanks for voting for awesome city council members.
So, do you mind if we play a game? Because you really set it up. You're like, police accountability. It's a great segue into a game.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm going to name an issue in the Twin Cities, and you're going to give it a grade. And since you are the city council president, this counts as policy, and that grade is going to do a lot of things. So, number 1, affordable housing.
C.
Okay. Parks.
A.
Football teams.
It's like a bell curve constantly, it's just an ever moving. We're at F now.
Yeah, F now. Asked you last week, A+. Public transportation.
C-.
There was an internal struggle
I
there.
I love the bus, but yeah.
I do love the bus too, when I'm on the right one. Government transparency.
B+.
Minneapolis.
A.
St. Paul.
C.
Council President Bender, thank you so much for coming on our show.
Thank you. Great to be here. Thanks, everybody.
Councilmember Bender, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Thanks.